doing that, and we need to listen to the small businesses to see what we can do to help them. I think most of the small businesses are doing the best they can. It's a tough time for everybody, and the county doesn't want to get in the way and make things worse.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gantt. All right, we will start with you, sir, Mr. Gantt. Regarding our environment, as the landfills continue to grow, what are your thoughts on how to keep up with that growth?
We are one of 2 landfills in the United States that has 2 policies going, and I'll try to explain it in the 2 minutes. We have...
1 minute.
1 minute, okay. We basically have one of the best landfills. We're trying to create a perpetual landfill so we won't have to tear up land and redo it, basically by composting it faster. We also have taken the gas from the landfill and created energy for 1,100 homes in that area. We're going to keep doing those kind of innovative things because nobody wants a landfill next door. What we can do and must do is continue our recycling efforts. Right now we're 3rd in the state. We're going to have to keep doing that, keep figuring out ways to push that envelope, and then we're going to have to do our landfill in a way that is smart. And right now people come from all over the country to look at that landfill because when we're just basically recycling like you do a compost pile. We're also using the extra gas that comes out for the electricity. We're proud of that. We're one of the few places in the country doing that right now.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gantt. Mr. Howard?
I will have to agree with Mr. Gantt on the things that's going on at the landfill. I'm very proud of that. I just think we need to do more of it. Be able to gas all the county vehicles and eventually get to the point that we can sell some of it. Thank you.
I want to remind you, if you have a question that you would like asked, to raise your hand and we'll bring an index card and pen to you and they will bring the question up to me. All right, Mr. Howard, we will start with you on this one. Excluding building maintenance and paying employees, what do you believe are the most important areas for expenditures over which the county has control?
Paying down the debt.
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Mr. Gantt.
81% of our budget is spent on human services, public education, public safety, and education. What we've got to do is probably put more money in education. We want to make sure our staff is paid well. We want to make sure our teachers are paid so they're not looking for jobs. We want people to stay here and put all their energy into being good employees for Buncombe County and the schools. We have to be careful because there's limit to what people can pay and what we can expect people to do. And again, this is some of the worst times that any of you have seen in your lifetimes, and we're aware of that. That's why we've kept the tax rate the same. We've only dipped into our rainy day or reserve fund one time since I've been on the commission, and that was when the state took all our money when they had a crisis. So we just have to be smart. We got to be honest with people. We got to tell them what we're doing and make sure that when we take taxpayers' money, we spend it wisely and we tell them how we spend it.
All right, thank you. I'm going to preface this next question that there's a statistic in here that I do not have knowledge if it is accurate or not, but we're going to go with it. And if you know different, you can brief us. It says nonprofits currently consume 33% of the county budget, more than education. What would you do to rein in the growth of nonprofits? Mr. Gantt?
The way, when I got on the board, what we used to, we had a community fund. It's about $1 million. And basically it was discretionary. There wasn't any accounting, and nonprofits would come to us and we'd say, yes, you're a good nonprofit, we will give you some money. What we've done since then is I don't think 33% is probably right. That sounds a little bit high. But what we do, instead of creating a government agency, we contract with nonprofits for specific performance-based contracts, and then if they don't do what they say what they said they would do and what we expect them to do, we drop the contract. So I think that when we can partner with people and give people jobs instead of creating another government agency, we're ahead of the game. Buncombe County has looked in the state We're the model for partnering and contracting with people instead of doing it all ourselves. For instance, Wake County creates another agency, and they're known for that way. I think we have a better business model, and I think we get more out of our money.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gantt. Mr. Howard?
Nonprofits. That's exactly what they're supposed to be. I think if they get money from the taxpayers of this county, they should have to present their books to where they can be examined, to where we can look at them and see how many of them are getting six-figure salaries and above, how many of them are sitting on local boards and vote on nonprofit decisions, such as one of our county commissioners sitting there making over $700,000 a year from this same nonprofit that this county give over $800,000 to. Ask yourself if that's fair. Thank you.
All right, we have time for two more questions. The first one, and Mr. Howard, we'll start with you. Specifically, how can the county help create more jobs?
Stop.
I'm sorry, go on.
Stop the spending. Analyze, evaluate every bit of waste we have, and take that money, give it to our small businesses to expand. Stop worrying about going to Egypt or someplace and try to get somebody to come here and give them $8 million to open a business. You give me that $8 million and I'll make you $100 million with it. That's exactly the way you do it. Thank you.
Mr. Gantt?
I think the best investment we can make in order to get more jobs and job opportunities is in education. We got to work with these school board members that you're going to hear in a little bit, because if we give our students the skills and the education to do the jobs of the 21st century, we're going to get those jobs. Those jobs will be filled. And if we support AB Tech and they've got this big bond that a lot of you may have been against, but it's something we have to invest in the future. When you talk about what employers are looking, they want trained workforce. We've got to support the teachers. We've got to ask the questions. You've got to go to the Chamber of Commerce and SIBO. You've got to hear what people need, what they want. There's no magic wand to this, but education is the #1 thing I would do to help get jobs in our community.
All right, relating to this, and we'll give you each 30 seconds, do you support tax incentives to encourage business to locate to Western North Carolina and Buncombe County specifically? Mr. Howard?
No.
Mr. Gantt?
Yes, it's a necessary part of getting in the game. You're not going to get people because, like I said, a lot of the folks I've talked to said we got more money elsewhere. But you get you in the game. You don't get considered. You talk to Chamber of Commerce. You talk to business recruiters. It's part of what we need to do, and that's one reason we've had the job growth we've had. After things have been pretty down, we had about 2,300 jobs come in since 2009. $650 million of investments out there.
All right, thank you. Last question. How should the board address the necessary tax rate increases due to the upcoming property reevaluations? Mr. Gantt.
3 parts to tax. One of them is what's the fair market value. That's something we've authorized. That's going through the first part of the year. The second part is what's the tax rate. That's something we'll make a decision on once we decide the third part, which is what the budget is. I can't foresee a situation that we're going to be able to raise any rates. We're probably going to have to be revenue neutral because I don't think people can stand any type of increase. But I won't know until we set the budgets because there are 3 parts to it. What we're going to know in the spring is going to be what the fair market value of your properties are. You haven't had them evaluated for 7 years. I don't really know if they're going up or down. Some of them are going to go up, some of them are going to go down like it does every year. But once we get that information, then the board will consider what the rate should be and what the budget should be based on what we have to work with.
Thank you. Mr. Howard?
if you analyze that budget and you cut the waste out of it, you won't have to worry about raising people's taxes.
Good follow-up question. Where do you see waste, sir? And we'll start with Mr. Gantt.
I think
seconds.
anytime you have a $350 million budget, you're going to have some things you can do differently. We just have to keep on looking at that. I'm on the audit committee. I think we have some auditors that really, and CPAs. You got to ask the tough questions. You got to put it out there and let people see what you are spending money on. And you know, I think people have to say what you are going to cut if that's the way you're going to go. I'm certainly not going to cut education. I'm not going to cut public safety. I'm not going to cut out the economic incentives we have.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Howard?
Budgets. Each department has to provide a budget to the Board of County Commissioners. Typically, they write down a number, 50,000 or 50 million, for example. They bring it in, they present it to the county manager presents it to the commissioners. Nobody looks at that. Nobody sees what that $50 million is doing.
All right, thank you, sir. Your time is up. Before we excuse these gentlemen, I want to just share with you that next Monday will be the next forum for the Asheville-Buncombe League of Women Voters. It will be the County Commission District 1, which is the downtown area, and House District 114. That will take place at 6:30 at the Lord Auditorium at Pack Library on Hayward Street. October 8th will be the East Side District 2 and District 115 at Black Mountain Library. And then on October 15th, District 3 and District 116, and that will be at the Skyland Volunteer Fire Department, which is at 9 Miller Road at the intersection of Hendersonville and Long Shoals Road. We're going to take just a short, less than 5-minute break just to rearrange a few things. I'm sure Mr. Howard, Mr. Gantt will be out back along with our other candidates who are participating in the meet and greets. I want to thank you all.
girl thing to do. And,
Yeah, I caught that. Yeah.
If we can please have the candidates for the Buncombe County Board of Education make their way to the front, please. And then if you all will take your seats, we're going to go ahead and try and get this started. If you have questions and you need a card, put your hand up. If you have questions and you already have it written out, just hold the card up and we will collect it. My, my, my. Here we are.
That's right. We took care of it.
Good to see you. Gary, thank you.
I think I think they're pouring yours right here, actually.
Just give me yours. How about a roll?
Oh, just soda, is it? Okay. No, it's actually soda.
Once again, if you have questions, we'll be taking questions on index cards. If you have a question that you know of, raise your hand if you need a card, or if you've already written your question out, just hold it up and we'll collect it. We'll be starting in just a minute.
Hey, sorry.
Any questions? All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Now we have quite a few. First, actually, again, just a little housekeeping once more. If you haven't already, or if you're new, please do turn off your cell phones or put them on silence if you need the restroom out the door. And to the left, we do have something with the Board of Education I want to make sure that everybody is clear on, because it is a little confusing. We have 3 districts and 1 at-large. There are 2 candidates for each of the districts and the at-large position, of which everybody in the county gets to choose 1, or will get to cast their ballot for 1. For the Owen district, we have Mr. Chip Craig and Mr. Dan Hale.
That's right.
Oh, okay,
I'm right
I was
here,
looking
yes.
for you. For the Robertson district, we have Steve Sizemore and Amy Churchill. For North Buncombe, we have Ann Franklin and Brian Freeland. And the county-wide, in the at-large, we have Dusty Pless and Jerry Green. Okay, so again, 2 for each of the districts. You will get to cast a ballot for 1. Now, there are 3 other districts.
Jerry. Another at large.
Chico. And let me get this right. Chico Janikavich. Close. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, so we'll get it right. I apologize. Chico is also at the at-large position. There are also 3 other districts, Irwin, Enka, and Reynolds. They will remain on the board, those representatives currently, and you will choose those in 2 years. They will be up for election. So we're going to go ahead and start to my right with Amy Churchill. You get 1.5 minutes each, candidates, to introduce yourselves. There will be a 30-second timer, okay, right in front of you, and then a red, which means finish your thought as concisely as you can so I don't have to step in. Then when we get to the questions, you will have 1 minute to answer the questions. Because of the large number, there will be no rebuttal, okay, or no further expansion. All right, Ms. Churchill, we'll start with you for a 1.5 minute introduction, please.
Thank you very much. First, I'd like to thank the Asheville League of Women Voters for having us here tonight and hosting this forum. I think it's a great opportunity for the public to get out and become familiar with the candidates so that they can make an informed decision. My name's Amy Churchill. I live in Arden with my husband Ben and our daughter Maddie, and Maddie is a 6th grader at Kuntz Intermediate. For several years I've been actively involved in volunteering in the classrooms and with various PTO projects within the Robertson district. I've always believed that education is one of the most valuable resources that we have. Having a great education can open so many doors, regardless of where one starts out in life. And it truly is the great equalizer. And the public school system's value should be immeasurable to the community it serves. With that, I believe all children deserve an equal opportunity to receive a first-class public education. It should not depend on where you live or what school you attend. High academic achievement should be the standard, not the exception. And I believe we are capable of having that in all of our schools in Buncombe County. And just finally, I'd like to not only be known as Buncombe County being known for the home of Beer City, USA, but I would really love to see us be home as the education first city. That's my top priority.
All right, thank you. Mr. Craig.
Thank you, and I'd also like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this event on and allowing us to be here today. A little bit about my background. I'm an incumbent. I've been on the school board for 4 years. My educational background, I'm a graduate of Davidson College. I have an MBA from Northwestern in finance. I have, for several years, been about 6 years, I was a banker. Then I went to work for North Carolina Outward Bound School, got a little bit of taste of education in a different way. And in the last 14 years, I've had my own business, real estate business. I have 2 kids. I have a 7th grader and a 10th grader. We had a busy night tonight with soccer for my middle school and open house at the high school for my daughter. Why am I running? I think all of us tonight are probably questioning that a little bit. Why are we willing to be up here? But I can't think of a more important thing to do with my time than to invest it in, and I'm always trying to do something outside of work, and I can't think of a better thing to do with my time. I also think my background with finance and business is very applicable. And I have been involved in the school for 4 years, the school board, and I'm excited about what's happening, and I want to continue to be involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Craig. Ms. Franklin. Absolutely.
Owen
Ms.
District.
Churchill is, what district? You are in the Robertson District. And Mr. Craig, you are in the Owen District.
Owen District.
And Ms. Franklin.
I'm Ann Franklin. I'm from the North Buncombe District. I've grown up here. I live in the house I grew up in. I am a product of Buncombe County Schools and very proud of it. I taught for the school system for 36 years, and during that time I believe that, and came to practice, that all children should succeed, and no matter what their plight in life. I believe that education is the means by which people can overcome the circumstances of their birth. And I want to be part of, I am seated on the board at this time, and I want to, I'm running again to help move the county into the 21st century and to make the decisions that will help us provide that kind of education for our children. I also believe that all children need to be in the presence of a capable, caring, and competent teacher, and that it is that teacher that causes the success in the classroom. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Franklin. And again, Ms. Franklin is for North Buncombe District. I want to remind you, if you have a question, if you need a card, just raise your hand. We'll get you a card and a pen. If you already have written your question, just hold it up and we'll collect it. Mr. Freeland.
Good evening. Thank you again to the Asheville League of Women Voters for having us here. I am Brian Freeland. I am running for the North Buncombe District seat. I am from the Weaverville area. I have been here since 1982, and my son goes to the Weaverville Elementary School. He is a 2nd grader, and my wife and I have lived here in the Asheville area, or the Weaverville area, since we've been married, and I personally have been, again, a product of the North Buncombe District school system. Graduated in North Buncombe in '86, and after that my career started in the military. Retired military of 20 years, 3 active duty tours overseas with the present wars that are going on. I have recently left the Asheville Police Department after 17 years of service, and now I continue my work in retail for various reasons. I currently serve on the Weaverville PTO board. I'm the vice president for the elementary school. I've been on the board for 3 years, and my son is what drew me to the board and the school system. I thoroughly enjoy it. Again, it was asked just a minute ago, why are we doing this? It's for the kids, number one. We have to make sure our kids are raised in the right environment, to have the right education, and to be able to graduate and be able to serve in a capacity that we may eventually see them be the next chairman of commissioners or whatever. We got to have them for their education.
All right, thank you, Mr. Freeland. Mr. Green?
Again, I also thank the League of Women Voters. My name is Jerry Green. I have my wife with me in the back, and it's my best supporter and biggest supporter. I began teaching at Emma in 1967. I taught at Johnston School, assistant principal at Swannanoa Elementary School, and retired in July after 34 years as principal at Black Mountain Primary School. Now you're saying, why are you running for school board? Because I've been in school all my life, and that's what God's called me to be a part of. And if you want to know what kind of job I'll do, go to Black Mountain and check with the folks where I've been. I think there's three things you do on a school board. Number one, every decision you make, you put children and students first. Number two, you hire and employ the smartest people you can find, hold them accountable, and stay out of their way and let them teach and operate the system. Number three, I think you carefully analyze the financial resources to be sure they're following the students to the classroom. I would like to serve on the board, and I'm working at the large seat. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Mr. Hale?
All right. Sorry about that, Mr. Green. Hi, I'm Dan Hale. I'm running for the Owen District. I was encouraged by friends and teachers, parents at Black Mountain Primary School to go ahead and run for the Board of Education. Jerry Green was the principal for my children. I have 2 kids over there. And I only have a high school education, but I'm very passionate and emotional about what I'm set out to do to run for the board. My 2 girls in the school system, I'm very proud of them. I want to see them go far. I'd like to be involved. I'm involved with the school through the PTO. My wife is president of the PTO now, and I enjoy going to the schools and seeing the teachers interact with the kids. I think it's sad to watch the teachers struggle. They struggle a bit not having everything they need to accomplish what they need to on a day-to-day basis. I think it's very challenging. I think with our budget, with the school system, I'd like to be more involved and see what I can do to help the system get better. And that's what I want to do. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hale. I'm going to try this again. Mr. Januszkiewicz. All right. And you are running for the at-large seat. At-large. 1.5 minutes, please.
Yes, I'd like to say thank you as well for everybody here, as well as all my colleagues that are running for positions. I think it's great. It's a great turnout, and it's very exciting. I have lived in Buncombe County for working on 7 years. My children have been educated in the public school system since kindergarten. I have a 6th grader at Kuntz Intermediate and a 4th grader at Avery Creek Elementary School. I'm a big supporter of public education. I taught for 8 years prior to my current profession. Most of that time was spent overseas working for the Department of Defense. I taught a lot of dependent schools, at dependent schools for our military personnel. Also taught for a year here at Buncombe Community School in the Owen District. One thing that or 2 things I should say that I always found that I've kind of developed in my feelings for education is that students are our most important customers. That's what they are, and we're here as educators and as community and as parents and in government to support those children, those customers, and give them the greatest service possible. I think teachers are our greatest assets to accomplish that, and they're professionals, and I think that they should continue to be treated that way. To accomplish that, the whole goal of our education system should be developing a workforce. And I've heard that a lot with the government officials that were here today. And I think we are getting into a global economy. And everything we do needs to make sure that they're prepared for that economy.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Pless?
Yes, I'm Dusty Pless. I've lived here in Buncombe County my entire life. I'm a product of Buncombe County schools. I attended Western Carolina University where I got a BS degree in special education. I have an MA degree in public school administration. Growing up, my parents were always involved in the school system. My dad ran unsuccessfully one time for the school board. I ran in 2000 for the school board. I was a part, well, let me back up. At Estes Elementary, I served as vice president of the PTA and on the advisory council. At Valley Springs Middle School, I served as vice president of the PTA and served on that advisory council. When I got to T.C. Robertson, I served on their advisory council. Back in the back in the 80s and 90s, Buncombe County Schools were deemed to be one of the 12 worst systems for facilities in the entire United States. We passed, I think it was 3 bond referendums to bring our facilities up to date, which I was not on the board, but I participated with. And in 2000, I was encouraged to run for the school board. My main purpose is to put children first, and I want to do that wholeheartedly. I've been proud of the boards I've served on. I'm not the oldest one on the board. Ms. Franklin reminded me of that, but I'm the longest serving on the board, and by doing so, we have had all kinds of, we've had good boards since 2000.
Mr. Pless, thank you very much. Time is up. Mr. Sizemore?
Thank you very much, Jamie. Thank you to the League of Women Voters. I think if there's accolades to go around, there's certainly enough of them are going to the League of Women Voters, and thank you all very much for hosting this forum. Thank you. I'm Steve Sizemore. I'm the Robertson representative on the Board of Education currently, and I'm seeking re-election to that seat. I've served on the Board of Education since 2006. I was appointed to fill an unexpired term, so I filled half a term, ran in 2008, was elected, and now I'm on the ballot again for re-election. I think that it's important. People can talk a lot about what they plan to do, but I think that one of the things that it's important for voters to understand who a person is and where they came from, and family is very important to me, and I want to make sure that people understand. I'm actually not only am a product of Buncombe County Schools, I actually grew up in the schools, and when I say that I literally grew up in the schools, because my parents were both teachers. So I was at school before most people were at school, because the teachers always arrive early, and I was one of the last people to leave. My wife and I both graduated from Robertson District Schools. My oldest daughter has graduated from Robertson, and my twins will hopefully graduate this May. And that involvement in the schools, the community involvement, is something that I think is very important. And I think that that's an integral part of the decision making that we have as board members.
All right, Mr. Sizemore, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, we'll begin with the questions. Not everybody needs to answer every one. Some are directed specifically to candidates, and we will address it to you. However, others we will invite to join in if you want to participate and answer that. If you don't choose to answer, don't, but just signal to me that you do want to answer a question, and we will make sure to get you in time allowing. Now, you will have 1 minute to respond to these questions. We'll start with one. I'm going to kind of combine these. Prior to deciding to run for the school board, obviously for existing current school board members, this may not be appropriate. How many board meetings have you attended, and how are you involved in the school system? We're going to tie that in with this. What do you feel is the most important role of the Board of Education, and how does that role impact students' education and instruction? Anyone like to start with that?
I'll respond to that if it's okay.
You certainly may, because I was going to have to put somebody on the spot otherwise. Mr. Green.
I've attended school board meetings since 1967. I've probably attended more school board meetings than these folks up here that are on the board. I have noticed at times they'd last to 1 o'clock in the morning. Now they're lasting longer too. Let me tell you what I view some of this when you tie it together. If you're transparent and folks know what you're talking about and questions are answered, and when questions are asked, you try to answer them. If you don't know, you go to find out. If you do that, the public understands what's going on. And that's the main reason for that.
All right. Mr. Hale.
I've only attended about 5 meetings, and that's part of what's motivated me to get involved with the school. I think that the Board of Education should be they should have good conversation and two-way street, and I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing a real breakdown in the Board of Education, and I don't see how they can get anything done and set good policy when they're fighting all the time. So I feel like I want to be a part of it to see if I can help them move along a little bit better.
Thank you, Mr. Hale. Would anyone else care to? All right, we'll start with Mr. Craig and then Ms. Churchill.
I'll just answer one part of that question, which is what the role of the board is, and I believe it's to hire a superintendent. That's the most important job we do. And then we oversee the overall policy. We approve the budget. But I think it's important not to get too involved in the day-to-day activities of the hiring of teachers. I think it's important, as Mr. Green said earlier, that we hire a good superintendent, we have a good leadership team, the principals hire the folks, and we let them do their job, and we hold them accountable if they don't.
Ms. Churchill?
Yes, hi. I've actually attended board meetings on and off for the past 3 years, and more frequently in this past year. And I really think that one of the main things that the school board should be doing is be good stewards of the money that has been allocated for our school system. We all know that there's been budget cuts over the years, and it doesn't look like we're going to be getting a money tree anytime soon. So I think we just really need to step back and take a look at the resources that we have and how best to use them. And then I also think communication should be something that the board strives for. And when I say communication, I mean between administration, teachers, parents, and even students. I think that it is a two-way street, and the opportunity to engage in conversation would be very beneficial for the board and the community.
All right, thank you.
Jerry, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chico.
We'll go with I'm going to call you Chico, if that's okay. Chico, and I apologize.
And I'll be honest, I can't say that I've actually ever attended a board meeting in this county. One of the things is I've just not been aware of when they've occurred and what kind of role that it plays in our education, and that's always concerned me, which is why I'm getting involved at this point. Like Ms. Churchill said, I think one very important role of the Board of Education is to get as much of the community involved. I think we have a lot of manufacturing, we have a lot of other industries here, and I think if we work with those individuals in our community, we can help develop students that are ready to slide into that workforce and be active members of our citizenship.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Sizemore.
Thank you. It's interesting because from a very broad perspective, the individuals that serve on the board serve to represent the community. And I think that sometimes we get caught up in what the details of the job are involved that we forget that, or at times people forget that. But we are elected to represent the interests of the community. And one of the reasons that I indicated who I was and what happened to me as I grew up, so that people would understand. I can tell you that I'm going to make a certain decision on a certain point in a certain way, but until you understand all the aspects of why and the background that a person has, you need to. That's the person that you're making the decision to elect. From a communication standpoint, we are representatives of the community in that we are talking to people in the community to find out what's going on. They come to us, we go to them. The same thing is true at the school level. Advisory councils, PTOs, PTAs, and the communication with the teachers and the students in the classroom.
All right, Mr. Sizemore, thank you. Mr. Pless?
I probably haven't attended as many, well, I know I haven't attended as many board meetings as Jerry Green, but however, even before I got on the board, I was very active. And very involved. And our job is again to hire a superintendent to make sure that we have very, very, very competent people from top to bottom. Let them run the system and be the eyes and ears for the community.
All right, thank you. Next question: how much input does or should the school board have, or should or are decisions made by the paid administration? How much input does or should the school board really have? Or are decisions made, or should they be made, by the paid administration?
Jamie Hall.
I want to.
Jerry Hall. Okay.
Remind you, if you have a question, to please raise your hand and we'll get you an index card and a pen, or if you have a question already written out, just hold it up and we'll pick it up. Mr. Sizemore.
Thank you, Jerry. Several of the members of this panel have already indicated that the Board of Education hires a superintendent. We do not run the daily operations of the school system. That is allocated to the superintendent, and the decisions from that point are made by the superintendent. We develop policy. We establish the policy that's adopted that provides and facilitates for the efficient operation of the school systems. And it provides the framework for the superintendent to make his or her decisions. That is the way that the school system operates. That's the way it's supposed to operate. It is not intended to be micromanaged by the Board of Education. It's not. That is an inefficient means of operating a school system.
Anybody else care? Mr. Green?
May I respond a little bit to that too? Did you know Buncombe County has 25,600 plus students, nearly 4,000 employees, buses, 291 of them that run 16,000 plus miles a day. Now, when you turn that loose, as a board needs to know what's going on and hold the people accountable that does that based on budget issues they deal with. When you look at the budget, and may I speak to the budget just a minute, I believe about 60% of it comes from the state, 15% of it from the federal, 25% of it from the local. When you look at that money and how to do it, you must allow somebody else to do it, but you need the information to go by because we make decisions based on that.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Hale?
I don't think we can operate this school system without a board. I don't think you can have the ship just going askew. You have to have some directive. For instance, if the community doesn't know that the school board is pushing through to build a STEM school on a possible toxic waste site and not willing to talk about it, the public needs to know these things. Now, there's things you can do like test. It's real simple. And I wouldn't want my kids to go to school at in a building that could possibly be contaminated. I think that there has to be the Board of Education to help direct the administration. And I think the administration's doing a really good job with what they're working with, too.
Mr. Hale, thank you. Ms. Churchill and then Ms. Franklin.
Well, as far as how much input the school board should have in the day-to-day operations, I'm going to kind of put it in an aspect that I'm used to. I'm in healthcare, and I take care of patients, and I certainly wouldn't want somebody to come in and who doesn't have any experience in healthcare and try to tell me how to do my job. But I would rely on, say, the family members to provide additional input and be willing to listen to them, because I think when you involve a group of interested individuals, you get a better outcome. It's a team approach.
Thank you, Ms. Churchill. Ms. Franklin?
I believe that, as it has been said, that the board is to make policy and to hire people that are capable of doing the job and leaving them alone and letting them do their job. However, as a board member, there is a fine dance that goes on between the board and the administration. I believe that board members are eyes and ears for the administration, and that by being able to provide information from the community to the administration, that better decisions are made. However, those decisions are made by the administration, not by the board.
All right, thank you, Ms. Franklin. Mr. Craig?
Yeah, this may come up in a different question, but I just wanted to respond to the environmental issue that came up. We are testing. We tested a couple months ago or a month ago one of the wells closest to the school, and it came up no detection of hazardous material. We're drilling another well, and we're going to test that. And I'm all for testing. I don't think anybody here would want to not test, so I don't know where that's coming from.
All right, thank you, Mr. Craig. All right, next question. Would you consider asking the state legislature to allow the Article 39 sales tax? Now, this statistic has not been fact-checked by me, but it says about $12 million per year, now designated for school construction in Buncombe, to be spent on teachers and students and the classroom. Ms. Churchill, we'll come right here.
Absolutely. I think what we need to do is look at our money as a whole, and sometimes you do that, you know, we all do that at home with our budgets. We only have a certain amount of money to use, and if we're needing a new roof, then maybe we don't go to Starbucks every day. So I guess if we need the new buildings and upgrades to our existing buildings, then yes, money should be allocated to that. But we certainly cannot forget that while we have new buildings, we do need to provide the teachers and textbooks and all the other supplies to make that not just a building, but an actual school.
Thank you, Ms. Churchill. We had a few over here. We'll start with Mr. Pless.
Yeah, to your original question about the sales tax.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I would. However, you've got to keep in mind, it's just like your house. You have to keep your house, when when you were living in a house, you have to keep it up. So you have to make sure that your facilities are well planned for. I lost my whole train of thought. That goes with age, I think.
We can come back to you and give you another 30 seconds if need be. Yes, sir. Mr. Green.
May I respond to that, too? North Carolina spends in Buncombe County about $7,600 a year to educate a child. The state is about $8,200, and the national average is about $10,600. Buncombe County is 85th. We're 85th in the out of 115 school systems of spending money for education, yet we're the 11th largest tax system. So the question that occurs to me is, why would we spend $7,400 in Buncombe County, but the state average being $82,600? Well, there'll be some way that money could be adjusted somewhere to follow the student to the classroom.
All right, Mr. Pless, we'll come back to you for 30 more seconds.
Okay, I guess my point was, and the sitting board members know this along with Mr. Green, a Board of Education has at most 10% discretion over the budget. Otherwise, the federal government and the state tell us what to do with the money.
Anybody else care to address that?
Jerry.
Mr. Sizemore?
Briefly, one of the things that Mr. Green has indicated was that we were 85th in expenditures. That's the number 85th is right, but we're 85th in the state in funding from the state. That's not necessarily state expenditure. That's how much the state invests in Buncombe County. But we are the 11th largest school system in the state. This microphone doesn't like me. Get closer. Okay. All right. I was thinking I need to push it away. Thank you very much. One of the things with regard to Article 39 that's very important to understand is that was legislation that was put in place to provide Buncombe County with supplemental funds for building construction. In the event that that is changed in its funding stream, that legislation is likely to go away. That will then cost Buncombe County money as opposed to benefiting the students of Buncombe County. One of the things that we need to recognize is that the Buncombe County Board of Education's motto that's at the back of the building or the back of the room, every decision that we make is to make that decision in the best interest of those students, and taking away that Article 39 money would not be in the best interest of the students. Thank you, ma'am.
Would anybody else care to respond? All right, moving on. Do you support merit pay for the superintendent? If so, why? And if not, why not? Any takers? We'll start with Mr. Green and then we'll go to Chico.
If you have merit pay for the superintendent, why would you not have it for the other 4,000 employees? Now, I've worked in a system where that operates. That is difficult, believe it or not, to do because of so many variables. It's like you get a classroom of 20 kids. It's hard to determine what you're doing with that 20 kids. Now, when you set it up with a superintendent and the superintendent gets it, that means, like I understood today, Buncombe County is probably about third in the state with testing. Now, where the praise should go for that is not to the superintendent. That should go to the teachers and the ones in the classroom doing the work.
All right, thank you, Mr. Green. We had Chico, please.
Yeah, I would agree with Mr. Green. My biggest concern with merit pay is just how is that defined at a superintendent level, and then how does that trickle down and actually affect what happens in the classroom? Again, teachers are the most important assets in this county when we talk about education. And when we talk about merit pay, that's where we should see the, where the benefit occurs. Again, how is that defined, and what does it involve? Teaching to a test so that a superintendent can, hit those merits. I don't necessarily agree with that, and I don't think it's a successful way to run an education.
All right, Mr. Sizemore, please.
I'm not in favor of merit pay for the superintendent, nor am I in favor of merit pay for the teachers, but I will tell you this, there is a merit pay system. In essence, the Board of Education hires the superintendent, sets the superintendent's salary within a structure that's established by the state school board and the legislature. And so we are a merit pay system to the extent that we're watching what the superintendent does and work with making sure that he or she works within his guidelines or her guidelines. One of the things that has been indicated is that when the school system is successful, when the students, for example, what Jerry just indicated is that we now know that our students in Buncombe County again scored at the third highest level for SAT takers in the state of North Carolina for any schools that have at least 2 high schools in their school system. Certainly the praise for that goes to the teachers. It also goes to the students that took those tests, the parents that provided the support for them, the superintendent that established the structure for those teachers to have opportunity in the schools to provide the teaching skills that were necessary, and the Board of Education that established the policies that allowed that to happen.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sizemore. All right, next question. Workforce and job training has been mentioned. How does that compare, and what can you do about the value of education itself, college prep, and critical thinking skills? Chico.
One of the things that as I mentioned, I was overseas, though I was working for the Department of Defense and teaching American students, but I was able to see other models that occur around the world. And one of the things was, the assumption is that if you're going to prepare students, you have to prepare them for a college education. Frankly, as an educator in the classroom, that's not where every child is eventually going to succeed. And so what we need to do is offer something that will prepare those children and those students for success in our communities. Whether that is going into college or whether that is going into a vocation is essential. And like I said, there are models out there that I think we as a country, not just within this county, but certainly we can begin here, can look at and learn from, and not necessarily compare and say, geez, we don't succeed like them. What are we doing wrong? Well, let's look at what they are doing to succeed and use that instead.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, we're moving towards a global economy. We're in a global economy, and I think the school board the school system's doing some good things. It's hard. I've been impressed because in the last 4 years the budgets have been cut, and yet we're striving to do little things incrementally to make us more global. We have such things as we're one of 14 schools in the system that are part of the North Carolina Global School System. We have a second year, we're running a Spanish immersion program at Glen Arden, 30 seconds. We are doing Project Lead the Way, which is a STEM project in middle school, and we're looking at doing a new STEM high school. We've got to compete, our workforce has to compete globally, and I believe even in a time of recession, we're striving to accomplish that. I can't wait to have money and actually do some more things.
All right, last question. Go ahead, Ms. Churchill, we'll give you.
Well, I was just going to say, as far as locally, I think what we should do is involve businesses within the community to offer mentors in the schools. And when I say businesses, I mean that could be anything from a plumbing business to doctor's office. But just giving the kids an opportunity to see what areas they'd like to maybe investigate further. Asheville's just home to so many different I've lost my train of thought too.
If we need to, we'll come back to you, but we're going to go ahead. Yeah. That 30.
There's just so many different jobs that we have out here in this area, and I just think that it would be worth our time to get the community more involved in educating those children on what they want to do when they're done.
All right, last question. Is it true Buncombe County Schools does not have a line item budget? Why not, and should that be changed? Any takers?
No, ladies first.
Ms. Churchill.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, not being part of that process, I can't say with authority on how the budget is done, but I will say that however the budget is done, it certainly should be looked at, and like I said before, to see where we can save money and shift the money to the areas that need it the most. It shouldn't be so black and white that you can't pull money from here to cover this expenditure. We just need to be able to look through and do like any budget and determine what things can be moved around and just put our heads together on it.
Okay. Ms. Franklin?
The public, Buncombe County Schools, as any school district in the state, is given a budget, and money comes from Raleigh in specified places. And we do not have, nor does any other school system have, the ability to move money around. You get money that comes, and it comes to pay teachers. You get money that comes to us, and it goes to pay teacher assistants. And so, unlike your home budget, where you can move things around, you can't do that so much in the school system.
I'd have to really question, you know, I have heard that there was a insurance renewal policy that went up over 30%. And there were no competing bids when asked, the board was asked, were there any competing bids? No, they went through with it. Whether that was done lawfully or not, I would say it was done lawfully. I feel like there's no common sense there. If you know that your insurance policy is going to go up 30%, wouldn't you want to question that, even in your own personal life? Or are you going to accept a salesman's word that that's a good deal, let's go with it? Would it have been easy enough for the board to say, let's get a few competing bids? And really, if the budget's going to continue to get cut, education always gets cut. Don't we need to be smarter with the money that we have? And if we're able to shift some around, I cannot believe that we can't find some dollars and shift it around where it's needed in the classroom to take care of the kids.
All right, Mr. Sizemore.
Thank you, Jerry. You know, we hear on occasion from a few people that there is no line item budget, and quite frankly, it's just not accurate. We've got reams and reams of paper. It's really almost obscene the amount of paper that it takes to produce the budget and produce that for Buncombe County to be able to see where the expenditures are. We have breakdowns on those expenditures for each individual that is paid, for each department, for each type of expenditure. I'm not sure what more of a line item you could ask for than what Ms. Parker, who receives accolades throughout the state for the work as the finance officer for Buncombe County, could produce for us and for the public than is already being produced. That information is presented at a budget workshop. It's presented during budget meetings. We have any amendments are done at regular public meetings, and the budget is available in its multiple formats on the website for the Buncombe County Board of Education.
Mr. Sizemore, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have others who want? Okay, well, this is the last question, but go ahead, Mr. Craig.
I'm sorry to keep y'all late.
I've got a few closing comments. You're not last.
All right. I just want to echo what Steve said. I mean, it's so frustrating to read in the paper and see that people saying we don't have a line item budget when we do. We approved a budget, or we were presented a line item budget for this year, 2012-2013 in January. It's on the website. Go and look at it. It's broken down per person. It's by code, and it's there. That's all.
Okay. Mr. Green?
In relation to the budget, I think there's about 60,000 plus items in it. Now, when it's that thick, my question occur to me was, who looks at it? And my opinion is it ought to be looked at, because 85% of the budget that comes into Buncombe County is used for personnel. About the only way you can save money is personnel, programs, and purchases. So what it would require, and I have done this over the years, sit down and go through the pages of it and look and find out who's paid what. I think you have to do that, and you have to look at each item like that. It is line item, but it requires close looking.
Mr. Pless?
Can you hear? Okay. I'd like to reiterate again, you have, the current board has about 8 to 10%, of discretion in what the budget is. And our Chief Financial Officer, Mary Parker, is the envy of the state. You've got the best financial officer, bar none, running Buncombe County Schools of any system in North Carolina.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pless. Well, I hope you all are encouraged by the information you've heard here. I hope you've had some of your questions answered. These are the forums where you can do that. We have the next one next Monday, October 1st. That will be for the Downtown Area County Commission District 1 and State House District 114. It will be held at the Lord Auditorium at Pack Library on Haywood Street downtown. October 8th, we will have the Eastside District 2 and District 115. That will be in the Black Mountain Library on Doherty Street. And then October 15th, District 3 and House District 116, and that will be at the Skyland Volunteer Fire Department on 9 Miller Road. That's at the intersection of Hendersonville and Long Shoals Road. The early one-stop voting opens October 18th. Districts have been changed. Polling locations have been changed. You can go to vote411.org or ablwv.org to get all the information there available. Candidates will be outside. I want to personally thank the Asheville-Buncombe League of Women Voters for asking me to moderate, and for all of the candidates for your time and efforts and energy. We are done, sir. With
I just want to make a statement about the vote.
No statements. I'm sorry. I apologize. It's league rules, but we do have the opportunity for you to be out back, and you can answer any questions out there. Thank you all. Good seeing you. Good seeing you. Thank you so much. It's nice to see you again. Thank you for No, never.
Good.
Awesome job. They need to make sure that the national level. Because that's right on task.
That's my job.
Jerry, thank you.
So much.
What I was going to say.